go to this. This is something you're hearing quite a bit. A few of you have asked me to rebut this, and you can comment below if this meets your standards because you had asked for this. This is a claim being made everywhere right now. The idea that banning abortion is racist. We dealt with yesterday how white supremacists would actually want as many abortions as possible because black women commit abortions at a disproportionate rate because they've been targeted that way. But now they're trying to make this argument that banning it is racist because that black women disproportionately suffer from higher maternal mortality rates, and that that'll get worse if you ban abortions. This is a really lazy argument. Again, this is their claim right now, and it only requires 2 minutes of research to understand why. We make the references available at loudwithcrowder.com, especially if you're in college, so you can go check them out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Look how LeVar Burton, when he says it's like, you don't have to take my word for it. Great. Oh, so he's showing us a 6-year-old because you believe he has more credibility.
Yes, well.
I like this book. And LeVar Burton's like, see?
He says it's true.
He's not lying.
He doesn't know anything.
So the claim is that abortions save lives, right? Because black women have higher maternal mortality rates. Okay, here's... we have a video. That's right. Here's a video of them making that claim.
When you look at the difference between the women of color and the Anglo, so to say, and the disparities in the healthcare alone before Roe versus Wade was overturned, and the way in which black women and women of color get treatment when it comes to healthcare. Now this being a whole nother situation.
Well, the Supreme Court ruling striking down Roe v. Wade could impact women of color more severely than anyone else. Yeah. A Duke University study estimates that a complete abortion ban could increase black maternal deaths by 33%.
36 million people, and this is a far-right extremist Supreme Court that's making this decision.
Those far-right extremist blacks.
Other people that affect
like Clarence Thomas.
Lives when black women were, when we know that black women, the leading cause of death before 1973 was the sepsis. That went along with these unsafe abortions.
And we have a black maternal morbidity crisis here. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in childbirth. And so
are they more likely to play Billy Zane in The Phantom?
Or death.
The Phantom 2.
Here's, by the way, the truth. Maternal mortality actually is higher among black females.
It is.
That is true.
Yeah, that's true.
Either. But I love how on the left they go, correlation doesn't equal causation. Well, the good news is with something like this, you can check this out pretty quickly. You can look and say, okay, is it just because there are a bunch of doctors who secretly are killing black women and giving them worse care?
Right.
Or when it comes to health is the easiest sort of, it's one of the easiest areas often as it relates to diseases and mortality rates to cross-reference and see where there's some kind of a similarity or overlap. So, it's true. They do die at higher rates, black women. But there are several other comorbidities that are related to what they call maternal mortality rates. And that means, mothers who die or die during birth. Okay. There are other factors that contribute outside of just racism. Let's look at them. Some of the highest contributing factors to maternal mortality and just how much more highly black women suffer from them. So heart disease failure, that's the number one reason, right, for maternal mortality. Black women suffer from that at 2 times the rate of white women. Hypertension is a severe comorbidity, a complication with pregnancy and birth. They suffer that at 1.67 times that of white women. Hematologic disorders, 4 times that of white women. 4 times that of white women. Then you can go down the list, things like diabetes. There are health issues that, yes, affect black women that would contribute to... So, for example, if you look at a hematologic disorder, okay, 4 times that of white women. But the overall maternal mortality rate is 2.5 that of white women with black women. Also, by the way, why is it 3.5 times that of Hispanic women? Hispanic women live in poverty here. Mm-hmm. A lot of Hispanic women don't have access to, the Yale hallway health insurance, whatever it is that Hillary Clinton has. I have no idea. So heart disease failure, double. Hypertension, almost double. Hematologic disorders, meaning we're talking about things that would affect the blood, 4 times that of white. Diabetes, you're talking about several multiples. Yeah. And by the way, these tragic, of course, outcomes are the result of several things. First off, genetics, they do play a role. Things like anemia, yeah, that's true. Sickle cell is something that doesn't affect white people. That's not a huge contributing factor, but I'm just using this as an example to say that claiming there's no difference between races doesn't do anybody any good. And then, some poor health choices.
Yeah. So my wife, as a nurse, she's worked with patients at different stages, right? People who have to make changes or die, or people that just need to make changes to maybe make a better, yeah, exactly. Not you, Dave, or make for their life a little bit better. And she says this: you can't force somebody to take care of themselves.
No.
And this is one of those things that you just don't factor that in, that people are going to make poor health decisions. You can't just say, pull on the heartstrings of people and say, black women will die. There, it's racist. We can kind of shoehorn that in.
Right.
It's racist for a black judge to agree that the state should have the right to determine what's going to happen.
Right.
And
The
not
sad
try
part
to
is
actually
they can,
solve
though.
it.
And people buy it.
Well, so many stupid people out there are just looking for that angle. They're looking for racism to play a part in every.
Well, they use it as an excuse
I
for
wouldn't call
everything.
the people stupid, though. They're buying what's being sold to them all the time, which is this constant thing of racism. Everything is racist, and it's just being sold to you by the news constantly.
Well, it's just you
By
go
the
down
mainstream media.
You go, is there any accountability at some point? In other words, the accountability here is with the media. They go, black women, maternal mortality. Okay, all right. Why? Well, because they have all these other health conditions, things like heart disease, things like obesity, things like diabetes, things like hypertension. Yeah, why? Because of racism. Why would that be? Because they, for a while they would say, food deserts. Now people can order their food online. It's because healthy food is more expensive. That's not true. I'm sorry, that's not true. I won't hear it. That is not true. You can eat very healthily for inexpensive here in this country. It's not true. When I was at my absolute poorest is when I was at my healthiest, because I had every single meal measured down to the gram because I didn't know when my next paycheck was coming in. I didn't have time to eat crap. Is it true that it's a lot easier if you're poor to go to Taco Bell? Sure. Is that any cheaper than a bowl of oats with some walnuts or a glass of milk or baby food or fruit on sale? No, it's not. It's not. It's cheaper to get some canned tuna at home, mix it with, eat it plain, eat some sardines, eat some oats. It's not fun, but it's cheaper, and you can do it. And by the way, we're seeing this with Latino women who are poor. They tend to cook at home more. And by the way, they also have weight problems, but they don't have a lot of these other health problems. So you can't say racism if it doesn't apply to every race that's non-white, because you've also said that we were racist against Latinos, right, when we're dealing with the border issue. You've also said that we were racist against Asians when we talked about, my God, COVID actually coming from, I think, Asia. And now it's just, no, discount all of them. It's just racist against black people. At any point, is there some personal responsibility if you have all of these health problems at a disproportional rate, which leads to maternal mortality? Where is there accountability that doesn't stop at me, the white guy, or the white woman, or the taxpayer being racist?
Right. And where is this person's video from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago?
Right.
Because this problem isn't new. Having a higher mortality rate for mothers in the black community is not a new thing. Have you been campaigning against this for a long time? Because, as you said, thousands of women are going to die.
Yeah.
So why weren't you trying to save them before if you really do care, or if this is just a convenient argument for you right now?
And by the way, there are solutions out there. When it comes to maternal mortality. Just like I was talking yesterday, I don't believe that in 2022, no one knows about that anybody doesn't know about contraception. I'm sorry, I don't care if you're the poorest white person from the hills of West Virginia, or if you are from Inglewood, California. I'm sorry, I don't believe that you don't know what a rubber is. I don't believe that you don't know what contraception is. I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
I may be wrong. Statistically, I'm not. Just like I don't buy in today that, it's a food desert and there's no way for you to possibly get food that's healthy or get some exercise. Maybe you can't afford a gym membership. You can go outside. You know where I trained when I lived in Simi Valley and I was house sitting? The park.
Yeah.
It was push-ups and dips and finding a heavy log and doing squats out in the woods where, by the way, I found that there were black widows, and then I ended up getting stick legs.
It didn't work out.
That'll help you run, though.
Yeah.
You see one of them?
Oh, it'll help you run. Well, more of a leap.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a vertical that, I outpunted my racial coverage.
Yes. I used to taunt bears.
Yes.
Something you also can't say is that people don't have access to education by Googling something or looking online to find information. So when you get pregnant, one of the first things that you tend to do is to say, I need to take care of myself in a little bit different way than maybe smoking a pack of Parliaments a day. I've got to make some changes in my life.
So it would be Cools,
Gerald. It would be Cools, Parliaments, Chamberlains, whatever. You can go in there. You can go online and find a lot of this information out on what you need to do. And California, I don't normally extol the virtues of a decision made by people in California.
But they got this one right.
Right now, they cut their mortality rate in half.
The maternal mortality rate.
The maternal mortality rate was cut in half primarily by educating people on 2 issues: preeclampsia and doctors, what they need to do with that, nurses when somebody comes in. My wife and I educated ourselves on that. It's literally a matter of minutes to save your baby's life, and it's scary. It's very, very scary, but there's a lot of things that you can do to help prevent that. And also hemorrhaging, what to do if there's hemorrhaging. Those 2 issues. That's all they did was educate people on that. And
what was the first one you said? Because I was
preeclampsia.
Preeclampsia. Explain that for people who don't know.
Preeclampsia is where the baby's head actually, after the mom's water is broken, the baby can come down and actually push on the cord and cut off the circulation to the baby.
Yeah.
Right. And so that can be a very dangerous situation. Yep. Literally what we were told. So we were ready, and I was ready to do this, and the doctor kind of laughed at us. Yeah, exactly. If preeclampsia had happened, the first thing the woman needs to do, and again, you can find this in 2 minutes Google searching this. The woman needs to get on in a vertical head down position as quickly as possible. And if that still doesn't solve it, we got a fetal heart rate monitor that was, I think, $60 just because we were at a higher risk, right?
Yeah.
And literally, and this sounds gross, if you're having to save your baby's life because it's not working, you literally put your hand in and push. Mm-hmm. And you've called an ambulance because it's minutes. It's 4 or 5 minutes most likely that you have to save your child's life. But again,
and the hemorrhaging, by the way, the hemorrhaging goes back to you're far more likely to hemorrhage if you have hypertension, if you have issues that relate to anemia, if you have anemia, if you
don't take good care of yourself,
if you have neurologic disorders, yes. Yeah. So you're talking about education as it relates specifically to these instances of giving birth.
Right.
But we're also talking about carrying the baby and what makes a huge difference. If your doctor is not asking you about your diet and exercise first and giving you prescriptions, you need a new doctor. Yeah. You need a new doctor. That is what needs to be taught in this country across the board. And then you get into specificity. I'm not saying that drugs don't serve a purpose. I'm not saying that some people don't need some help because, like I just said, there are genetic confounding factors here, contributing factors here. That being said, diet and exercise that is the engine, the transmission of the car.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.